We are live. CEO Wisdom Pod with Mark Michael. He's CEO at DevHub. Mark, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us about your cool background and tell us about DevHub.
Hey, Charles. Mark Michael, broadcasting to you live from Seattle, Washington. DevHub helps brick and mortar brands connect with their online customer. We do that through a lot of websites. So you're not using DevHub to build one-off. You're using DevHub because you have 200 locations or 14,000 financial advisors or something like that, where corporate and local want to control the experience in a certain way.
Tell us about the scale that you achieved since you were CEO there.
Well, we're still going at it. I mean, it's about 16 years. We raised a couple $1 million back in 2009. Burned through it, made all the mistakes that you possibly make when you think you get money. Expanded the office, hired way too fast, did all the things, didn't even have really product market fit, even though we thought we did. It's an illusion when you have money in the bank that you think you do, because you can buy your way to a certain point and then you realize nothing happens. And so then it was like a 13, 14 year-ish slog after that to figure out, like, what do we really have and how do you keep the lights on? And the last 3 years, accelerated by the pandemic, gave us an insane amount of confidence in what it is we do and who we do it for and what the value it provides to our customers, so that we were able to adjust price, how we pitch, who we pitch to, what brands we want to work with. And it's on that proverbial rocket ship right now. We're at that inflection point, 2023. We thought we were there in 2019 going into 2020. And then we got slammed with a pandemic. And, but what we learned through that was, I'm not going to even, that whole podcast can be on that, what we learned. But one of the things that happened was, again, with just understanding what our value is. No brand is going to go shut off 2,000 websites no matter what. And we were like, oh, it's not just a marketing thing. It's like a foundational presence thing for a brand, a digital front door, whatever you want to call it. No one wants to shut that closed. And I was like, oh, and then the last 2 years have been really fun.
How do you get brands like Nike, Chanel, Saks Fifth Avenue
to
get to work with you?
Right. So that's a funny, crazy, weird story. During the pandemic, we had heard of a bunch of these retail brands in that same category as Nike, Chanel, Williams-Sonoma, whatnot, moving from an existing platform. And we were like, wait, what is this existing platform? Like, how come we never heard of it? And I ended up connecting with the CEO of that platform, and we became friendly with each other enough where, he was like, look, we have no idea what we're going to do with this platform, because our whole plan was this whole other thing related to individual retail stores, blah, blah, blah. I was like, hey, we'll make you look good if we can have them over at DevHub. And he was like, all right, well, basically pitch me what it is you think you all can do. And we ended up acquiring that company that had those brands over to DevHub May 4th, 2021. So it came through acquisition.
Right. What about bonobos? I've heard that they got some trouble. I read Andy's book, Cool CEO, pretty transparent. How about as a company? You've probably seen them up close. So how are they doing nowadays?
Bonobos was one of the brands that during the acquisition had moved, like before we had acquired it, had already moved off, or there was like a 3-month overlap. So we really didn't get any real experience with them. I know that, like, I think it was connected to Walmart somehow. Like Walmart had bought the brand, or Walmart Ventures had bought the brand. But I mean, retail is an interesting category in itself. But like, I can't really share anything related to bonobos, because it was like 2 ships in the night passing. Like, we were coming in and they were already out by the time we got in. And so
I heard, I think Walmart just sold the bonobos to Express. Interesting. So, I mean, how much customers do you have right now?
So we've launched just over 265 plus brands at this point. I'm looking over at a dashboard in the main office right now. Yeah, just over 2 million sites we've launched as well. And so, I think last week, we're launching anywhere between, I don't know, 22 I'm trying to think of our investor presentation, our board presentation. Basically 22 to 32 brands a quarter we're launching right now.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's like somewhere around 250K MRR, I'd guess.
So again, it's changing. Like, again, this podcast is coming in a moment in time where we now know what the product is, we know how to sell it, we know how to price it. So I would say the average brand, depending on whether they fall, like, again, I'm going to do the average, I'm going to give a number. So emerging, mid-market, enterprise, I mean, the scale is pretty wild, right? Because again, it's amount of sites, locations, whatever you want to call it. Anywhere between 30, 50 and like 250 to 300K a year. And 300K plus a year. And so it's interesting right now.
From a growth perspective, what do you want to do this year to reach your goals?
Say it, let me hear it one more time.
Yeah, your goals this year. What tactics and strategies will you use to reach them in the next 5 months?
Trying to I'm trying to think of ourself like 2 years ago, but I'm gonna have to I wish someone would have. Okay, so 2 points. Me and my co-founder, he's been my business partner since I was 17. We always joke, like, do we have a company yet? And we brought in some finance people, aka a CFO, recently being last October, November-ish. And they're looking at our numbers, they're like, you guys literally spend nothing on marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, yeah, whatever. We go to market different ways through partners, this and that. They're like, you need to spend the money to get customers. And again, like it may seem obvious, but it was like with marketing, and again, I'm trying to give value to the audience. Marketing is like a very weird thing because you can spend 5, 10, 15, 20, 100, $1 million a month. And like at some point, like you get scared, whether that's in the 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, 6 month, 9 month, 12 month, 14-month mark, where you're like, shit, nothing I'm doing is getting customers. Like, and you pull back. And so that's what was happening for years. We'd start a marketing play and we would pull it back after a month or 3 months. So in October of last year, we decided, between our CFO and my co-founder, was like, look, you guys have money. You need to start spending money to get customers. So what does spending money look like today? So we're heavily on LinkedIn because, again, we are B2B. It's very simple. We know we're selling to heads of marketing, CMOs, marketing managers, sometimes chief strategy officer, sometimes chief product officer, but we see their names on LinkedIn. It's like super obvious. We know the brand, we know the person. So it's like, what message can we put in front of them that resonates? And not just on LinkedIn, then Google, then retargeting, then email outreach, right? Calling, like several things. By the way, I just named off, like, let's say 5. I would say that there's probably 5 to 15 more things we're not doing. I think if magic wand, we would be way, 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 way more active on social. But I think social is such a weird thing for so many people that they can't correlate it to necessarily a straight ROI unless someone goes and clicks on a form or does something versus just that impression and how much that impression is really worth. Again, we don't do much on social, even though we do, but we really don't. We don't do, again, because we know who we're selling to, I would adopt like a one-to-one combat style sales and not in a weird way be salesy. Like, so it's like, I know if it's a Stephanie or if I know if it's a Mark, at this company, it's like, what is Stephanie into? Like, what is Mark into? But again, no one wants to do that in sales because it's like too long of a process. And I'm guilty. I put pressure on our salespeople all the time. Like, just be human about it. But at the end of the day, they have quotas for the quarter. And so it's like a hard thing. We haven't been, we attend at least 4 conferences a year in the respective verticals that we play in. Again, I think conferences are a very weird investment for a company, but almost weirdly necessary. I have like a love-hate with it. I don't think anyone's like going to a conference and closing deals. Again, I'm sure there's someone out there that's like, oh, we close deals at every conference we go to. Cool, buddy. I don't doubt that you do. Like, I just never really seen it, but the residuals from showing up to a conference, oh, I saw your name alongside of the targeting on LinkedIn and like, it all adds up. And so you have to check all those boxes. And so I guess the point is, pick 3 things, pick 2 things, pick 5 things, and just stay on it for the next 5 months. For us, we're adding new things so that, we do the 5, let's do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, to get in front of more and more of our intended audience.
What about your personal goal? I see you're this Renaissance man on your Insta, traveling a lot, playing music, spending time with wifey. What do you want to accomplish this year?
Again, that question is look, I'm 41. So if you would have asked me that 1 year ago and every year prior, like, it's just a different answer. Today, the answer is like I 100% just, and again, like, it's fucked up because these are all just sound bites, but at the end of the day, like, I just enjoy spending the time with the people I love in the places I love. That's like where I'm at right now mentally. Again, let me be real too. Make money, buddy. Like, make money. Like, get money, at least so you know what that means when people tell you, oh, I just want to spend time with my family and like just be happy and healthy. That's messed up, because at the end of the day, it's like, it's nice when you're a little bit more comfortable to do that than when you're worried about and when you're founding a company, when you're worried about payroll and or you're worried about your lease payment or whatever else. So it's like, it's just a tricky thing. Today, like I said, my goals: be healthy. I did yoga this morning, hang out with my parents, my brothers, wife, the cat, my business partner, in the places I love, right? So that means flying private to the thing. Again, I don't do that today, I fly coach, but nonetheless, but it's like those things. But again, money affords that. So it's just like I'm extremely content. I always say, like, I love who I am. I just haven't done all that I want to do. But I also know, like, one thing first and the next thing. And so anything that you want to do in the future, like, you might as well just like start now, even if it's like that much. So taking a singing piano lesson now, because in like 5-10 years, I do want to go and tour the West Coast and hit up every steakhouse and like just blow it out. But again, like, I mean,
love it, dude.
people who are actually
Please invite me.
practicing right now while I'm doing DevHub is the point, And so,
interesting.
Yeah.
For how long have you struggled financially with the payrolls and stuff?
I mean, for us, it probably lasted, I don't know, 2000, and by July 2010, we were more or less out of money. We laid everyone off on one day. There was 3 people left: me, my co-founder, one other guy. And I would say 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, probably 9 years. 9 years where we paid ourselves almost nothing, in a sense. And every dollar went back into the business. And now it's almost the same thing, except not having to worry about payroll. But like, it's not a lifestyle company for us. Like, we don't take money out to do, like, no, we make a salary and every dollar goes back into the company to hire. Like, in the last quarter, I think we hired 4 more people. I think this quarter we're on target to at least hire 3 or 4 more people. And it's just fun. I mean, it just gets more fun once you get to that place. I remember when we first raised money, one of my investors said, I get yelled at a lot because I feel like I'm a battering ram. And it's like, I only learn by doing. Like, you can't tell me, oh, you need to do this. It's like,
yeah,
Yeah, I got to experience it myself. Sorry, I don't really care, But again, one of our investors I remember when he told me, he's like, Mark, once you get to profitability, you can live forever. I was like, you mother, just give us the money. Like, why are you like teasing us? Like, if I had more money, I will get to profitability. Um, and then now I sweat about that because I'm like, oh, I get it now. So again, you just have to learn it in your own timeline on this planet. And
I'm the same. I was always that way. My wife's the same too, like rebellious kids. You started your own pod. Why did you start your own pod? What did you learn from it?
I don't think I'm alone in this world to think a certain way. And I think a lot of people can say the same thing, but it takes a certain person for people to be like, that's how I think, and then to listen. And I just, at the end of the day, I look at it like it's a personal journal. I always say in the podcast, like, hey, this is a guy talking to himself in the hope that it maybe helps you feel less crazy. And, like I said, it's what's amazing about it now is I think we're at 300 episodes. I forget again. Like I'll hop on there for 5 minutes, record a podcast, and then like move on with my life. You know what I mean? If I have like an idea for something. But again, with a lot of the AI tools now, being able to plug in an episode to generate images and video and like blog posts and content, like all the stuff you can do off of just the podcast alone, leveraging all these new tools is like sick to have that library of podcasts. But again, what I learned was, well, one, it's not hard at all to actually just do the thing. I guess what I learned is I don't feel as crazy as it sounds.
Well, we're all crazy.
It's like it's very like therapeutic just to be like, what, and move on with my life,
All entrepreneurs are pretty much crazy by definition. I think normal people are somewhat normal, right? They're normies. They go to 9 to 5. They have their colors and their shades, but by nature, rebellious folks will be somewhat crazy.
Yeah, and it's definitely it's just like a weird balance. I don't know. Again, I think where we sit today, we don't get exposed. We see the end result of Steve Jobs or Bezos or Larry Ellison or Zuckerberg, but we weren't sitting next to them, in the early years. Like we have no idea what crazy means, So I feel like we feel more crazy because we don't have the context, and so that's why I like putting out the podcast. Because God forbid if this blows up into that big ass company, look at that full book of like almost daily of like showing up, posting, filming, recording. I don't know. And I always joke with my dad. I always say, I said one day people will ask how we did it, and I'll say I have no clue.
Right. And you're 100% right in that, documenting the whole process. I'm also the same way. I want to put it out there. I think I'll make it very, very big, trillions. So I want it to be all out there because, yeah, if you ask Musk, what did he do? He can try to recall it, but first, our human brain is so imperfect. And second, he's just living in a different reality, a different world. So I just wish these guys would have taken a bit more time to document it. And God knows if after their dying, after their death, if there will be this booklet that will be revealed, because Jobs, her wife, Lauren Powell Jobs, she released a notebook of his after he was dead. I think it's a bit sad also that most folks go private on that. It's certainly not helping the next gen.
Yeah, I mean, spot on.
Next question. For you, so you talked about like journaling out there and your mind and your craziness out there. How would you describe your own self and your own personality? And could you try to guess as per why you're that way and what impact that has on your business?
I don't mean how it's going to come across, but lately, and again, it changes all the time, but lately I feel like I'm like stupid and like stubborn, right? Like I don't mind looking like the idiot in the room or asking like the most basic question. Like when someone's like, oh, what's the, LTV, of course, in lifetime value, I understand what that is. But I'm just saying, like, but at the time, like everyone's like, because a lot of people speak in acronyms and like, oh, I'm like, what does that mean? Like, and like the whole, I can see like the room being like, oh, like, like they don't know. Like, I'm like, I need to know like what's up. And then two, obviously the stubborn part is more, like when someone says something's not possible, it's like, again, like I have to experience it myself. And again, I'm talking about business. I'm not talking about like, there's a cliff over there, fucking jump. I'm talking about like just in general, like, oh, that's not going to work. That's really hard. It's like, God damn. I mean, that's what I need. I always joke. I always say to my friends, like, I wanted to like learn to fly, like pilot's license. And I had all my little network of people like, yeah, you should do it. Da, da, da. I'm like, fuck it, I don't want to do it anymore. I just needed someone to tell me like, oh, it's not possible. It's really hard. And everyone's like, oh, you can totally do it. You're going to love it. Da, da, da. I was like, I don't want it anymore. And then I would say the reason why is, and again, this never translates, but I still love saying it. And one day someone will pick it up and be like, oh my God, I get it. But I think again, obviously, for lack of a better thing, like my parents made us feel like fucking princes. Like my dad always said, like, if you know you're right and you're good looking, go for it. And like, I just think I'm like the best looking thing on the planet. So like, I don't mind looking like an idiot because at least I have hair. I like everyone's alive. Like what? Like I'm, in perspective, like I'm like good. Like, so, I mean, obviously I would, and on to piggyback on the parents thing, like I was a CD student and I always say like my parents raised me, but my teachers made me, right? I can name one teacher in 12, 15, 16 years of school. I always forget how long we go to school for. And that I didn't really like, but all the others were great. Like even when I failed, even when I got a C or D, they'd be like, here, Mark, do this presentation. You don't have to take the test. Great. I'll do the presentation, and like the recognizing of that was just huge for us. And so I love our teachers out there because I just think there's so many good ones and obviously underpaid. And that's a whole nother podcast, but nonetheless.
So, contrarianism with sprinkled with a healthy dose of ego, I would guess. I'm also somewhat that way. What if I told you that I take like your podcast and like all the content you put out there and I'd create a Mark GPT? Do you think that would possible? And what insights would you find by speaking to that Mark GPT?
I think it's like there's like a constant, there's like two narratives that always play in my head. Go for it. And then two, like breaking through, right? It's like that split hesitation of like, still probably aligns with go for it. But like, again, this idea, like I still haven't broken through. Like I still haven't really broken through. And I don't know if there's ever really a breakthrough. I have no clue, but I just like it's a go for it slant on the language learning model and a blind optimism and anything you put in it, it's like you're the best. All right, now say this, like so I don't know. Yeah, that's what I would hope. Or it's just like a scatterbrained I don't know. But yeah.
Could be. Interesting question nonetheless, because I created my Charles GPT. I started asking it question and I discovered bits of myself, because we always forget how we are, what brought us there.
Yeah.
And if there would be that Elon GPT that he could feed his data to, and Zuckerberg feed the whole journal, and so that it could answer young entrepreneurs' question, they could be pretty valuable. But you're very entertaining, Mark. Thank you for showing up today. Where can people find out more about you and your company?
So me personally, Glider, Glider CEO, all one word, Glider CEO on Instagram, probably all over the internet in a weird way. Or markmichael.org for just like no reason you would ever go there. And then LinkedIn, just Mark Michael Seattle, Mark Michael. And then DevHub is just devhub.com, DEVHUB.